quietly and we will control all that you see and hear.
Johnny, do you think there's people out there that actually like an authoritarian government? A government that takes over and tells them what the hell to do? Do they like it, Johnny? Well, I think they do. We recently had a bloody state election out here, Johnny, and the man who was responsible for more draconian bloody measures ever in Australia's history, he was voted back in with a majority. So obviously people, especially in the last couple of years, didn't mind being bloody told what they can and can't do. Well, it doesn't say much for the freedom-loving people of Melbourne, Victoria. It does seem to give society in general this bloody feeling, a warm, fuzzy feeling that they're being looked after by some superior power that they don't really have to question or anything. No, we'll just do whatever we're told, and they're happy with that. I mean, they don't call Big Brother, for instance, in 1984. They don't call Big Brother Big Son of a Bitch. He's called Big Brother, like he's their brother. Well, yeah, when in actual fact, Big Son of a Bitch might have been a more pertinent bloody title for him. So perhaps this ideal of freedom that the Ask Johnny channel and others are constantly going on about, no one actually gives a shit. Right, yeah.
I believe lockdown was about testing control of populations.
Who's this woman?
And I believe Wuhan, or wherever it was created in a lab, Wuhan was the perfect time and place with a meeting of people from all over the world to distribute the test. And lockdown was a playbook response already disseminated to governments for how you would work with this pandemic, or whatever you wanted to call it.
A test, he reckons? Well, yeah. But let me tell you this, Johnny. If a government is elected, does that mean it gives them the right to do whatever they want? What, anything? Well, anything? Yeah, whatever they want.
The cry, give me television and hamburgers, but don't bother me with the responsibilities of liberty.
Now, I don't think that's the way the bloody system was originally set up to do. Oh, yeah. And you just can't give governments unending bloody power just because you're voted for them. And then 4 years later, they run around in an election telling you all this bullshit they're going to do or not do, and then all is forgiven and they start again. I don't think that's the way it's supposed to be. We're supposed to have representatives of the people scattered all around the country, and they're supposed, well, they do waffle on, Johnny, before an election, but then we all expect that, don't we?
At first I thought he was joking. He's not joking.
Johnny, I don't reckon that's what people are actually thinking about, are they? I mean, they got their own lives to lead.
Would be the way that if you take a problem into someone's own home and you change their behaviour on their front doorstep or in their house, that's when you really win a population. So if you can start telling them how many people they're allowed inside your own home, you've really done something. You've taken a free people and told them how many people are allowed inside the house that they own.
But Johnny, surely they're answerable to the voters out there, for Christ's sake. Shouldn't that make a difference? Yeah, the governments are supposed to actually do what their people want. I mean, if you have more bloody referendums, and we've spoken about this before on the Ask Johnny channel, if you had more referendums on bloody major issues during the year, it'd be much more democratic. Governments don't like referendums. They often go the way the government doesn't want them to go. Yeah, they won't do it, Johnny, because if the referendum goes a different way than what they envisaged, think of Brexit, then there are all sorts of bloody strife, and they don't want to put themselves through that. We'll just do whatever we want, and if people don't like it, well, in 2 years' time when they come to vote, we'll just tell them a whole lot of bullshit, and all will be forgiven, and we'll get back. Jesus Christ! Politicians think, of course, Johnny, that if they do these things and the shit hits the fan, well, they're not liable for anything. Yeah, they're not liable for the decisions they make while they're in government. Come on! Well, yeah, I was as surprised as anybody. They just retire with a nice bloody pension and write books and do speaking tours.
Centralized government to grow to Leviathan proportions, Herbert believed that the masses must be transformed into what he called ciphers. Ciphers are individuals lacking in moral autonomy, deficient in critical thinking, and incapable of acting with courage. The cipher is too afraid or incompetent to think for himself, and so he submissively regurgitates slogans heard in the media and robotically obeys orders from the political class. These dehumanized non-entities are molded by years of indoctrination in state schools, decades of propaganda from media and popular culture, and constant exposure to numbing and dumbing distractions. The cipher is the man or woman whose spirit has been broken and who is the easy prey of the power-hungry amongst the political class. A nation of sheep will beget a government of wolves.
Christ almighty! But Johnny, democracy is the pillar of democracy both here in Australia and in England and especially in the US. The US is the biggest bloody perpetrator of false democracy that the world has ever seen. Have a listen to Jimmy here.
Well, you have your head so far up your ass, but you could see Russia. Because the democracy in the United States was stolen a long time ago, Bill. Princeton already proved it. They did a study that we live in an oligarchy. That's not hyperbole. That's not some kind of cute thing or a clever saying or a glib fucking remark. That's a scientific fact that your democracy has been stolen from you, Bill, which is why 80% of workers live paycheck to paycheck. Half the country can't afford a $400 emergency, and workers haven't had a raise since 1980. That's why we still don't have health care like the rest of the world. We still don't have a living wage, and we have people living under every bridge. We don't live in a democracy, which is why we can send $100 billion to the most corrupt country in Europe, while we still don't take care of our own people and they go bankrupt when they get sick and live on the street. So we don't live in a democracy. This idea that somehow one party cares about democracy while the others doesn't. You know, they both serve the same corporatocracy, which is what we live in. An oligarchy, run by corporations. We now live, as Chris Hedges has explained, we've experienced a corporate coup d'etat in slow motion.
And instead of having a dictator, the dictator has now been replaced with the nameless, faceless corporate state, which controls every part of our being. They control our free speech. They control what medical treatments we get to experience. They get to mandate us to have experimental medical. We don't live in a goddamn democracy. That was taken from you a long time ago. And this is just him repeating propaganda. And he's being dumb on purpose because he's wealthy. And he doesn't really have any problems he wants government to solve.
So in summing up, Johnny, I don't think a government, just because it's elected, that gives them the right to do whatever they want. And just because you've been voted in doesn't mean you have bloody complete authority to do whatever you want. A government that just does what it wants. They can just do it as they see fit.